Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. I'm your host today, Jeff, here at Economic Preppers. I have to remember what channel I'm on. I'm on a couple of them. So today I'm going to be talking about the big conferences that are coming up this week, and I'll hint at the other one that I mentioned on my other channel up here, which is a second financial conference that's happening this week, right after the first one, which is BRICS. But before I get into that, please help out the channel a little bit. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe, leave a comment down below. All that stuff really helps out the channel, helps to get the word out, and makes you guys look good when you share like good content like this. Helps us really, it's a compliment to us as far as what content we're providing, encourages us to do more research like this. But I've been digging into what's I think is going to happen at this BRICS conference. Now, the BRICS conference, in case you were under a beautiful couch like this one, it's a meeting of 5 leaders of countries, well, 4.5, and it's a meeting in South Africa. Originally was scheduled for Durban, but now it's in Johannesburg. The only world leader that's of the 5 that's not making it is Putin, because he's wanted on an international warrant for actions in the neighboring country, as you can figure out. But let me talk about Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Those are your BRICS countries. That's not a formal organization. So let's start right there. There's no charter. There's no documentation saying, how do you become a part of BRICS? How is BRICS formed? BRICS is a loose alliance of emerging economic countries or financial powers that are growing, and they were identified about 10, 15 years ago by a writer and who made this little acronym of BRICS for these 5 countries. Now, you can make an argument about like how much is each one of them invested into this. Clearly, Russia and China, as being neighbors, are very much into this. Brazil seems to be into it too. India is back and forth. They're kind of playing like the Asian Switzerland and trying to be as neutral as they can. But they're a big player too. They have a lot of people. I think they have more people than China. So you're talking about they have like 1.5 billion people. So it's like almost 20% of the world, or roughly about that. So it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of an economy too. I think I heard that the middle class of India is larger than the entire population of the United States, just to give you perspective. So India has like 1.6 billion people. The U.S. doesn't even have 400 million. So we're a quarter of the size, not even of India. So it makes sense that they have a lot going on. Anyway, they're meeting in South Africa. All right. And one of the things that they're going to be talking about, because it's the first time they've been face to face in several years because of world events the last couple of years, but they have no formal way of letting other countries to join to become like BRICS plus. And a lot of countries are expressing interest. I think 67 countries were invited to come, and some knocked on the door and then said, no, thank you. France, how you doing? And France has played a major role in the past about world currencies too. They were one of the driving forces to the U.S. going off the gold standard in the 71, because they were demanding their gold in the 60s back from the U.S. because they didn't think that we had it. So France has, they're kind of they push the envelope. And they are very nationalistic. What's good for France is what's good for France, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, you should look out for your own people. That's what a government's supposed to do. But I digress. One of the main things that they're going to do, the top 2 talking points at BRICS, how do other nations join, and is there going to be a new world currency? Now, I think that they're going to merge those 2 concepts. And what they're going to do is they're going to look at gold reserves, and we're going to talk about like central banks have been stockpiling gold for the last couple of years. And one of the big reasons and driving forces of that has been Basel III. What's Basel III? Basel III has been an international banking standard put forth by, I think it was the Bank of International Settlements, that said that, they classify certain assets and risk. And gold was a tier 3 and cash was a tier 1. What that meant is that cash had, if you had a stockpile of cash, or versus a stockpile of gold, you would actually they would deem gold as riskier, which means you couldn't borrow and couldn't do as much activities if you had more cash. Well, they changed the rules, and instead of cash being at 1 and gold being at 3, now they're both at 1. So what the banks have done is they stockpile gold, and they're saying this whole fiat currency thing, if it continues to go, we're going to stick with gold. And that's what BRICS is really leaning towards. So now let me share my screen quickly here. and I will share with you. This is a prettier chart. I have two of them open, but this is a pretty chart of the 50 countries with the most gold. And you can see that the U.S., this is in metric tons. U.S. claims to have over 8,000 metric tons. Then Germany, Italy, France. Russia and China are 5th and 6th. I like this chart because they number them. India is 9th. So there's there's your three main players in BRICS. Whereas Brazil and South Africa, well, you scroll down a little bit further, South Africa is at 31, Brazil is at 28 because it's a tie, and they're at 125 to 130 metric tons, somewhere in the $7 billion range of gold. So since they've been stockpiling gold, and since they all have these banks and they have these reserves, I'm thinking that they're going to walk before they run. And what they're going to do is they are going to pick out a plan that doesn't compete against the dollar right away, but it does indirectly. Let me explain that a little bit. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to make the acceptance criteria to join BRICS, because lots of countries want to join, being you have to have a certain amount of gold reserve. And the way that they are going to do that is that you have to convert some of your gold reserve into tokens for trading, and it's going to be a trade union. The biggest concern a lot of other countries like the U.S. have and NATO countries have is that this becomes a military alliance of countries in addition to a trade alliance. That would be problematic for Europe and the U.S. as well, because Mexico is one country that's considering joining. Can you imagine if Russia and China are in a military alliance with Mexico? Let me say it again so I can say it clearer. Can you imagine the concern for the U.S. if Mexico, Russia, and China are in a military alliance? Can you imagine Russia and China having military forces or bases in Mexico, like knocking on the Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California border? That's a big concern. So I think BRICS walks before they run. They keep it as a trade union, and they say to join our trade union, you have to have a certain amount of gold reserve, and they may say convert that into tokens. We'll put them on a blockchain so everybody can see our trades with one another. It's open and auditable, and that'll scare the hell out of the SWIFT system. And it'll scare everybody on the current system and on North America and U.S., Canada, the G7. It'll be a big concern. So, and I think that they're going to do that because it's going to be a big thing for them to get these countries in. I mean, these countries that want to get in, they want to know what the ground rules are to join. So if they set these criteria, that criteria alone, saying 100 metric tons is what you need to join. Any country, let's look at that list again. Let's look at that list, and here's the top 50, but I'm going to go on to another list because this is a similar list, and I'm going to look at who's below 100 and who's expressed interest. The UAE has expressed interest at 75. I believe Argentina has expressed interest at 62. Bolivia 42. Peru and Ecuador, I believe. We won't mention this one, but you can usually figure that out. Afghanistan at 21. Paraguay only has 8. Colombia only has 5, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so as you get further and further down here, let me see what country was 50th. So 50 was Bolivia at 42. So if I go to 42, yeah, there we go. So here's 50 countries at Bolivia. So everything below that line, all these countries, Morocco, Afghanistan, the Czech Republic, they would have to go and start purchasing a significant amount of gold. So what that will do is that will create demand for gold. So that would drive one of the two safe havens right now in the financial industry. Like there's no more, we're running out of safe havens for purchasing power to go to. Real estate is drying up now. The bond market is getting all out of whack. Stock markets are going to be next. Fiat currencies don't save you anything. It's all eroding. Your purchasing power is eroding through inflation and this debt system, this financial system that's been created with the dollar and the petrodollar. It's eroding and eroding quickly. So those who still have value are going to try and get out of it into safe havens. Real estate was a safe haven, but that's kind of drying up now. With mortgages going up to 7-8% now. Commercial real estate about to implode. And now gold and Bitcoin were your two safe havens. But now gold's going to go up in price because of demand of what BRICS is going to announce to join, which leaves Bitcoin as the one last safe harbor. And guess what? That's probably going to go down next. Or I'm sorry, that the price of Bitcoin will go up next because the demand will go up because it'll be the last safe haven that people can go out and buy because gold will get to be too expensive. So it doesn't mean that the other countries, now what will the US and other countries that are not going to be part of BRICS do to try and combat this? They will try and use their financial might to try and suppress these prices. We know what they can do with precious metals. We've seen that with Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan for years. We see what they do with the FUD stories on Bitcoin, and from FTX to Mt. Gox to Evergrande and Tether, anything they could do to knock down Bitcoin a few notches and keep that price down. They're running out of options for it. They're running out of ways to keep it down, but this is going to create demand. Now, what's also going to happen, so the U.S. can take some of their purchasing power and they will and pull it out of other markets and try to suppress and knock down Bitcoin and gold as long as they can, as much as they can, and keep pushing it downwards in price, so that it doesn't look attractive. But it can only last so long. Now that other countries are probably going to be gathering up gold, trying to join BRICS, what else can they do? What else can the U.S. do to try and keep the dollar in front? I was about to go off on another tangent. I'm probably going to make another video about that, about loss leaders and what they can do. It's kind of an analogy, but rather than making this video even longer, I just want to keep it nice and short and explain it to you. I think that BRICS is going to make, rather than a currency, a method to join, and that's going to drive demand for gold up, which will create demand for Bitcoin as well, and then prices are going to really start to go up. But what do you think? I want to see what your thoughts are. What do you think about this theory? What do you think about the prices of gold and precious metals and Bitcoin going up? Will BRICS be a driver for this? I look forward to reading all your comments, but in the meantime, I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'll say, be prepared and not scared, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care.